AITA for telling my sister that her baby isn't the only one that matters. I, 32M, am expecting my second child with my 30F wife. My wife is 14 weeks pregnant and we are really excited. My sister, 25F, and her wife, 27F, are also pregnant with their first child. My sister and her wife did IVF, and my sister is 38 weeks pregnant. I'm very happy for them, and I think they will make great parents. The other day we all met up to see our grandparents. They live out of state and don't visit a lot, so when they do, we always set aside time to see them all together. My grandparents were talking about how excited they were to see my sister and her wife become mothers, and they couldn't wait to have their first great-granddaughter. They continued to talk about my sister's baby and didn't even acknowledge my wife's pregnancy. I could tell it was hurting my wife, so I tried to start a conversation to include her, but it always went back to my sister and my SIL's baby. I even tried talking about the gender reveal we are holding soon, but no one seemed to care. My wife got upset and walked out of the room. My sister asked me if everything was okay, and I told her that my wife was upset because she's feeling left out. My SIL apologized and said that that wasn't their intention. My mom tried to convince my wife to come back and sit down, but she refused. My sister told me that my wife can't expect every conversation to be about her, and this isn't a competition. It told my sister that her baby isn't the only baby that matters and ours matters too. My grandma told me that she would be more than happy to discuss both pregnancies, but it was too late. My wife wanted to leave, so that's what we did. I'm now being called an AmItheAsshole by my parents for making a scene with my grandparents there. I feel like no one cares enough to see my wife and Eastside in this. AITA here? AITA for asking my husband to include our children when spending time with his estranged son? I am a 45-year-old woman who has been married to my husband, Fred, for 20 years. We have 4 children, including my 24-year-old stepson, James. When Fred and I first met, he was still married to James' mother, Lily. We fell in love, but we didn't do anything physical until after their divorce was final. I met James when he was 5 years old, and over the almost 20 years that I have known him, he has never liked me. Despite my best efforts to build our relationship with him, he has never shown any interest in getting to know me or his siblings. When James turned 18, he left home, and while he would occasionally call and spend time with Fred, he would never do so with me or our children. Recently, I asked Fred to include our children when he spends time with James, but James has not spoken to him since. Now, my mother-in-law, who has always favored Lily over me, has called me and accused me of being the AH for hurting James and Fred's relationship. Even further. First, understand that my request may have hurt James' feelings, but after almost 2 decades of trying to build a relationship with him, I feel that I have exhausted all other options. I love my husband and/or children, and I want them to feel included and valued in our family. It's not fair for James to exclude them from his life with Fred simply because he has a strained relationship with me. I believe that it's important for families to come together and support one another, especially during difficult times. James is a part of our family, and I want him to know that he is welcome to spend time with us, but not at the expense of my children's feelings or our family dynamic. I understand that James may be hurt, but first hope that he can see that our family is important to us, and that we want him to be a part of it. AITA for screaming at my little cousin and my aunt? I, 24F, have a little sister, 4F. My parents had him pretty late. It was an accidental pregnancy, but we still love her. I've always wanted a little sibling, and having her around is the best gift in the world. I'm pretty protective of my sister. Last Tuesday, my aunt came over with her son. He's 7. My cousin is very entitled, and my aunt enables it by saying boys will be boys. My dad was working that day, and my mom had gone out to run some errands after my aunt offered to watch over the kids. I was out with my BF, but we decided to stop at my home to collect something. As I walked in, I couldn't find my little sister. I assumed she was in her room sleeping and greeted my aunt and walked to my room. I walked past my little sister's room but couldn't find her there. I knew she was home because my mom had texted me. So I started panicking. I ran down to ask my aunt, and she said, "Oh, she's probably playing somewhere with your cousin." I couldn't find him anywhere, but my BF heard sounds from the basement and we found him there. He was playing on his mom's phone and was giggling. Weirdly. I calmly asked him for my little sister, but he kept laughing. This is where I lost control. I screamed at him and asked him where my sister was. He got freaked out and started crying. He pointed at the cupboard, and when I unlocked it, my little sister was in there crying silently because that little MTFKER had locked her in and told her not to make a sound if she wanted to. Escape the demons. Obviously, any 4 years old would be terrified. So I went off on my cousin, and my aunt heard this and came down. I ripped her a huge one, and she called me dramatic. I demanded her son apologize, but she told me to respect her son and that he was playing around. So I kicked them out of the house and banned them from ever coming again. My mum arrived a few minutes later and was issued after discovering what had happened. My parents screamed at my aunt and told her never to show up again. My sister is doing well now. She's scared to sleep alone, so she sleeps with my parents or me. My grandparents heard about this and thought we overreacted because my cousin was just playing. They think I'm the for escalating the issue. Some of my relatives are on my side, but others think I should have handled it differently. AITA? AITA for agreeing to go on a family vacation in place of our honeymoon? Some quick background facts. My family and family friends of ours go on vacation together every year. This has been a tradition since I was maybe 11 years old and I'm now 27. Each year, my parents and other families' parents alternate who plans and pays for the vacation. This year is our family friend's turn. I'm getting married in just a few weeks. We were planning on going on our honeymoon towards the end of the year but haven't put specific plans in place yet. I work for my dad and can pretty much get off whenever I'd like, but she only has so much PTO, so we're trying to be strategic with our plans. I told everyone I would likely have to skip the vacation this year because of my fiance's work situation and our honeymoon. Last week, my bonus dad came to me and told me had booked a room for me and my girlfriend was Marethan welcome to come along too if she changed her mind, but that he was insistent on the family being together for the trip. Honestly, there's nothing that can beat the vacations we take. The places are great and the company is even greater. My sister is so busy these days and lives out of state, so I get to catch up with her. The family we travel with has 3 sons who are some of my closest friends. Beyond all of that, you can't really beat an all-expenses-paid holiday. I told my fiancée about this and she's very angry I didn't immediately shut it down. I told her that we weren't required to constantly do family activities and this could easily serve as part 1 to our honeymoon. We haven't started planning, so there's no real plans to derail, and we can have our actual honeymoon as a first anniversary celebration since we weren't planning on going right after our wedding anyway. AITA? AITA for not forgiving my mom? I, 15F, was home alone a few months ago, and my mom's bracelet she got from her late sister went missing. My mom accused me because we'd had an argument before this, and I couldn't prove her wrong. So she grounded me for a year. Threw away clothes, books, birthday gifts, anything that wasn't an heirloom or necessary. All the chores went to me now. She broke me up with my boyfriend. And texted all my friends' moms to tell them to keep my friends away from me. She made me wear shorts at home so I couldn't steal anything and hide it on me, and I had to either leave the room or stare at the wall when the TV was on. This continued for 2 months. She found the bracelet under the couch. She'd left it on the coffee table and it fell off and rolled under. I screamed at her louder than I think I have in my life and ran off. She offered me anything, and I got several games, a pizza, and some new clothes. She asked if there was anything else she could do, and I said, leave me alone until I turn 18 and leave forever. She begged me to forgive her and I just said she's failed and there's no use trying. She started crying really hard and kept saying please over and over. I just walked off and went to bed. My little brother comforted me a bit, but says mom feels really bad, and asked if it would be pleasant for either of us to live with such bad feelings between us. I feel like my words hurt, and I've broken my mom. AITA? AITA for canceling my GF's tattoo appointment. My GF has OCD. One symptom she experiences is her doing everything in 5s. Her mother passed away in March of 2018. My GF goes to therapy, and in January of this year when she brought up getting a tattoo for the 5th anniversary of her mother's death, I suggested she talked about it with her therapist. After doing so, she said that her therapist also didn't think it was a good idea, as she believed that the drive behind her wanting to get the tattoo was her OCD, rather than the actual want of getting it. However, my GF still went ahead and booked the appointment. After talking with a couple friends about it, they all agreed that it wasn't a good idea to make such a permanent decision which has purely been fueled by her OCD. If she had somewhat recovered from her OCD, I wouldn't be so hesitant. However, she hasn't made any progress. I emailed the tattooist, we have each other's passwords, and cancelled her appointment. I told her an hour before her appointment that it had been cancelled, and as she had booked the last slot 4th day, she was unable to get it done. I knew she was going to be upset, but I didn't really realize how upset she was going to be. AITA's been a couple of weeks, and it's honestly crazy how she's reacted to it, but I am more than certain, and so are our friends, that in the future once Shay recovers from her OCD, she will be really grateful. It's clear that it was OCD influenced. Asit has flared up a bit because of it, and she's aware of that too, and has described it as making her physically sick when she thinks about the fact she'll never be able to get a tattoo on the 5th year anniversary. So AITA?